Hello and welcome to this video series about pedagogy for transformation and evolution. My name is Harriet Fagerholm. I'm from Finland, working as a co-creative guide and healer. And my previous career was as a professional educator at the University of Applied Sciences.
Hello everyone, my name is Victoria Subirana. I'm from Spain. I'm a teacher, but I spent 30 years of my life in Nepal setting up schools for the marginalized children, the outcast, and for their communities.
This video is called Negative Thinking, the Poison of the Mind, which is a big topic. I run into the fact even that research showed that most of our thinking is negative, up to 90% if I'm not mistaken. And for me, it was a big surprise to recognize in my own inner transformational process that I had so much negative thinking without understanding how is this possible? Why do I relate it to life and other people and challenges or whatsoever in such a negative way? Maybe it has served us in our evolution somehow to always look for problems, to look for the bad, to choose to see the world from a negative mindset. And what Victoria and I have in common in our approach to our work as pedagogues, whether it is with children or adults, is that we want to concretize the learning. We have created concrete tools that support the integration of the knowledge so that it can become wisdom. And one of my tools that I have found out is the black drop. Because when you talk about negative thinking and negative emotions, which are the result of the negative thinking, is that usually it's something we don't really want to look at. It's kind of approaching our own shadow. And the shadow within us all. And you can say we are approaching even the big issues of life, the struggle between good and evil. Is the evil in our awareness? Do we understand how the evil operates in us? For me, the evil is when we choose to relate negatively to whatever goes around us. And now I want to emphasize one thing, that I'm not saying that we should not feel those negative emotions when they are there, because they are already there. Then we have already a poison in our mind when those negative emotions occur. So we have to be aware of the root cause of those negative emotions. The negative emotions have a message for us, which we should be looking into with honesty, coming back to the honesty again, daring to look at the shadow in ourselves. So I have now a physical black drop showing me that there is always a risk, a tendency that this black drop can come in between us. Now you cannot imagine it, but if I have a physical black drop here saying that, let's say I disagree with Victoria about something, or I get annoyed by something, I feel something what she is teaching is threatening my ego. Luckily, it doesn't happen. So for us, it's now
No.
it's very easy now to do this co-creation because our egos are not struggling. So this is a blessing, really. But let's say her comment would irritate me, and I would kind of think that she tries to reveal something about me which I'm not ready to see. Then there is the black drop in between. And I choose to relate to her in a negative way. And that was not her intention at all. So in every relationship, there is a risk that the black drop can grow here between us if we are looking through our defense mechanisms. If we still believe that we have to defend ourselves, that somehow I have not fully accepted myself, I have not fully learned to love myself. And these negative feelings and thoughts about ourselves, they are often a result from early trauma and from an upbringing where we were not really fully loved and seen for what we are. Maybe our parents tried to make us into something else. Maybe they were not able to mirror the negative emotions when the child is getting angry, when the child is protesting, when the child wants to bring out their own will. And maybe the parent is depressive. Maybe the parent has addictions, problems, alcohol, and severe traumas, what they are carrying, but what they have not been able to release. It means that they are not able to be fully present with the child either, and fully not being able to mirror those emotions back to the child. And then the child takes them in, and there is an early developmental trauma in your system, causing you to feel a lot of fear. So out of fear, you become defensive. You are not even aware of how this fear is playing out. And I wanted to create the black drop to help us see how in what kind of situations we turn to allow the black drop to grow. And relating again to where this negative thinking comes from. Now, one surprise for me when I had turned my back to religion, to my Christian upbringing. I was a kind of very secularized Christian. Although in my youth, when I was spending time in Indonesia, there you cannot say that you are not religious, because in Asia we know that the human being, you have to have a religion. They understand you as a spiritual being. So I said, yes, I'm a Christian, but what did that mean for me? It didn't mean a practice. It didn't mean a concrete understanding, because I had internalized. I didn't want to look at all that sin that I have been listening to during my childhood, that I'm sinful, I'm bad, there's something bad in me. I had started to believe that there's something bad in me, without getting the information that there is also good in me, that there is both aspects in me and I can choose. Maybe it was something then why I didn't understand it, or maybe I did not feel the real love from the one teaching it. Not feeling the real acceptance, feeling that I'm fully accepted with all my doubts about what I am hearing. But there was no place for critical assessment of the teachings, of religion, of what is Christianity in practice? How do I become a good Christian? And instead of increasing the black drop, I should practice to decrease the black drop by forgiveness, by love, and being with that pain of loneliness and isolation, because I have not dared to open up to share my truth with others, because I'm so scared that I will not be accepted. And by those negative thoughts about myself, when I doubt myself, when I am critical towards myself, the black drop is growing all the time. And it can even take over your whole mind. And that's when it gets really serious, because you need a crack, like Leonard Cohen says, you need a crack where the light can come in.
Yes, you are very right. Harriet exposed her encounter with the negative thoughts and negative emotions, embodied and depicted in a black drop, from the knowledge and the culture and the experience of Christian culture. And I was coming across the same type of subject there in Nepal, being a very young teacher with no beliefs so far, no religion practices whatsoever, but very much devoted to the children and my passion and my profession, which is teaching. And I was very reluctant to receive any spiritual teachings, but there was the day that I received the most precious gift I ever had. That was a rosary, a mala, a Buddhist mala, from one of the most accomplished masters and scholars and professors of the Nyingmapa Buddhism, that was Dunjam Rinpoche. The story, I'm not going to refer that story here, but anyhow, that rosary was sent for me and I got it. Through that, I entered into a new world of exploration with a lot of hesitation, but somehow I came across his teachings. One of his teachings was about materializing the negative and positive influence in our minds. There was that exercise so powerful that you are given 2 boxes. One box is full of black pebbles, little black balls. The other box is full of white pebbles, little white balls. Then, my God, that was such a discovery for me and for the teachings I wanted to apply from such a great teacher. So I immediately applied that teachings to the Solving Conflicts workshop in the setting of Pedagogy for Transformation, that we have a place where the person who is willing to solve a conflict will go there asking for help, having materials to work with, having experiences with the self, having a teacher, an assessment, and everything. Or you don't have to enter into conflict to go there. Just if you feel that you want to discover something that you are aiming for, there is a place where it gives you the resources to work on this kind of self-acknowledgement. Then very soon I understood that those children who enter into big negative emotional status, shouting, insulting, telling names to one another, banging doors and tables, jamming around, with aggressivity, lack of respect to others or things, the impulse of not being able to control that emotional moment were very difficult to handle. And there was no way to change that negative emotions and patterns, but to provide them with a real tool where they could explore, like an X-ray. When you do an X-ray or an ultrasound in your lungs, the full situation, the full picture of how your lungs function, and you can even see the movement of your lungs in the screen. For the children, I understood the Dunjam Rinpoche teachings were so powerful, so important, because it brings about precise, tangible, and practical tool to the abstract children mind, because the children, they have a hard time to come across with the abstract. So many of the great scholars recommend not to start the abstract exercise of reading and writing until the age of 7 or 8, because the mind, intellectual mind of the children are not set up to understand the unknown, what they cannot touch, what they cannot smell, what they cannot see. And here we are talking about a movement, internal movement, that is going on within the emotions of the child, but he is not related to it. Then Dunjam Rinpoche, with those little pebbles, gave me that tool in my hand. When those children were so belligerent that they were like wild, they were, and were much in pain, suffering and creating suffering to others with their actions and words. I asked them to sit down there in the Solving Conflicts workshop, and I gave them the two baskets with white and black pebbles. And I told them, okay, don't worry. You just take your time. Mathematics is not important. You don't have to go to the class. And this is not a punishment. This is another learning setting. You can learn language or geography tomorrow or whenever you are ready for. Now, no problem. You are here. This is another lesson, very important, more important than mathematics that you have to learn. You just analyze one thing. Okay, let's make a deal. Let's make a deal. Don't cry. Don't cry. You just don't speak. You just be silent and analyze your thoughts. Every time a negative thought comes across, you just take out a negative, means the black pebble from the basket, and you just put it in the outside. Every time a positive thought comes in, then you take the white pebble. Then the child that is seeking for the reestablishment of his emotional balance, he will take that as a precious gift. Because very often the punishments we give and the solutions we give to the conflicts are not related to the need, to the very need of the child at that very moment of excitement, where even he doesn't know how to go back, to his emotional balance. And the first one who is suffering is him. And they are victims of the ignorance of the outer schooling disciplines that are not approaching the real core principle of the child. Then the child sits there and he knows that he doesn't have to go to pass the quiz or the exam. Nothing matters but his reestablishment and recovery of happiness, which is our duty. And then he sits there, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. Then the objective is only one. As soon as you will drop out more white pebbles and positive thinking than the negative one, then we'll open up for discussions. Until then, you can stay 1 hour, 2 hours, no problem. No, there is no problem. You just focus on yourself, and you might practice this, you might relax and focus on something beautiful. We can give even the child some tools. You can focus on an object, you can focus on your breathing. We give even some tools to the child to help him accomplish the switch, because first they identify how the mind functions. They are doing the ultrasound. Oh, I have a lot of negative things. Then we give the tools to exchange, the negative into positives. Then when the positive outcome is there, we can start having a description of the two different thoughts. What was the first negative thought that came to your mind? So that is mindfulness. Like mental awareness provides the mindfulness in the class when you are in a setting, and you can even cut your mind and put your mind here. Your mind goes back. Many children do. The mind, I don't know what my mind is. That is the same kind of system. Focus the mind in whatever you like. So analyze the movement of your thoughts. So many children will come across the first, the second, the third, the fourth thought, which is a very difficult exercise for adults. Why don't you try? 5 minutes of analyzing the thoughts. You are empowering the children to be the masters of their own thinking and to switch whenever it is necessary from a negative thought. Then when this thought is being discovered, then you say, how did you manage to change all those negative thoughts into positive? As you do this exercise, you can notice how the whole body of the children are changing. The child face becomes very relaxed, breathing is nice, opens up more to the lower abdominal breathing rather than the shortcut breathing when the anxiety is coming up to a level that you cannot keep. The words are nice, the smile comes again, so you reestablish your being. Now you are giving the key to someone who is not able to cope with any adversity of the outside world, you are giving the key to first be aware and then transform it. Nowadays, as she said earlier also, we have many adults that have not been able to receive that kind of teachings. And moreover, I will say that to me, that metaphor is when you have so many black drops and when you have so many black pebbles inside your mind, it's like you're carrying the pollution and garbage. And the fact that it's not visible, it doesn't mean that you are not carrying them. And you go everywhere with this. And so, because this is heavy and nobody wants to carry garbage, unconsciously, you also don't want that garbage. And when the garbage will be released, whenever someone gives you the opportunity to fight, wow, the garbage, and then you go like, what? I haven't done anything for this extra reaction, overreaction, but it's because that person is carrying the garbage. But when someone wants to throw the garbage, let's say that we go back home imagine that you go back home to meet your mother, your father, your wife, your daughter, and you will open up 2, 3, 4 plastics with garbage, and you will drop the garbage in the living room. The people will say, what are you doing? Why do you bring this garbage there? That is very physical, it smells, it's ugly. But similarly, we carry this garbage in our brains. And if you go back home with this situation and the father is not well trained in that, or the sister is not well trained on that, when you open up, when the sister will tell you something, you will, then the sister carries your garbage because you would throw it to her. The sister carries that garbage. Again, she's throwing it back to you again, and the garbage is getting bigger, contaminating and doing all this pollution. So be aware of the garbage you carry, and be able to transfer your own garbage into positive and the garbage of others. And nowadays that there are many tools, the mindfulness, meditation, yoga, as she said, this is the way to reestablish, to plug into the current of the supreme energy, to reestablish the positive thinking, because the tendency of an ordinary mind that have never worked in this way, it's always going to the negative, always, and then you have to get it back and kind of pull it back there and keep it to the optimal level, to 100 level of positivity, and spend that storage during the day. Because many people do meditation in the morning, and as they walk out to the street, they are throwing garbage everywhere. So don't do meditation if you cannot storage that peace and do the real meditation in practice. Then I really thank Harriet for having come up with these black drops, which is, look, from the Christian perspective comes to the Buddhist philosophy. And there we get the proof that the true religion unifies concepts and people and never ever fights within each other.
And that is, of course, the real message of Christian teachings. I really recognize it. I do understand it now, but the question is then, how are you able to internalize again the knowledge, the teaching? And by these practical tools, it has helped me to internalize the new perspective on the teaching. So I really understand what is this teaching all about. And I want to apologize to all the people I have, throw my garbage at. And I used to do that. You are so right.
Yes.
We have to work with it all the time. But we should not either carry it inside us, because then the body is not doing well. We are getting sick.
Exactly.
Of all the garbage we are pushing and suppressing in our bodies. So we need to learn. And here comes art, by journaling, by exercising, physical exercise. There you can release your garbage. or painting or dancing or whatever. These tools can help you release that pressure. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Bye.